4 brand new 35 by 12.5s, new tire pressure monitor sensors, wheel spacers, a leveling kit, and a bone stock 2014 F150. Some say this couldn't be done. I say it can, but I'm going to make it even better. I'm going to set an unrealistic budget of $1,000. Then I'm going to beat the hell out of it to find out if it was worth it. Welcome to Project F This. Rules. We gotta have rules for YouTube, especially when we're doing a budget style video and all the rest of that stuff. So full transparency here. This is exactly what we're after. $1,000. That's the entire budget for everything. I'm talking all 4 brand new tires. I'm talking like if there was a click to the torque wrench fee of like 25 cents per click to double check the torque, I want that in this budget. If there was a fee for an air pressure check, we're talking about mounting, balancing, installation, all that stuff. Everything has to be within that budget, right? No cheating, right? Rule number 2, no special deals, no sponsors, no closeouts, no coupon codes, no end of stock, none of that stuff. If I buy it today, it's got to be on there again tomorrow. But that also brings us right into, I'm going to be frugal, but I'm not going to be cheap, right? Maybe it's the least expensive option out there for some of it, but the other stuff that might compromise safety, like a crappy friggin' like wheel spacer that could snap off at, every pebble you drive over leaving the parking lot. I don't want it, right? Got to be inexpensive, but verified good product, something that doesn't compromise safety, right? Now, the thing that you got to realize about all this, I'm pulling some strings, I'm pulling a few favors, I'm, doing pretty much what anybody else on a shoestring budget would do, right? I'm not loaded. Now, I do have a shop. I'm sitting literally underneath a car right now on my lift that you guys can't see. So my lift is occupied and I don't have half the equipment. But if you're crafty, if you, are kind of clever and you go look around, you pull some strings, you get some favors, whatever the case is, you do what you got to do, you can definitely make this happen yourself. Then I'm going to go out there and tell you what I think about it after beating the hell out of it. I want to see if it's actually going to go. So, first stop on my list, my good friends over at Panda Auto. They let me use their shop, their lift, their equipment, their tools, all the rest of that stuff. So let's get over there, let's get this thing installed. Now, this is actually very simple to do, and I'm just going to, have you follow along here. First, you need to get the wheel off. Now, these are factory Ford 20-inch wheels. I think they came off a Navigator, but they came with the truck. Either way, you need to get the wheel out of the way. Then you need to get all the brake lines and everything else like that off of it. So just simply unbolt it from the knuckle or the spindle or whichever one you want to call it. Also take them off of the frame. Then reach for something to get the tie rod off of there. Simply zap it off with an impact, couple smacks with a hammer, maybe a little bit of tension on it because some of them will pop right out, some of them won't, but either way, you need it out of the way. After that, you need to pull off the dust cover and take the bolt out of the CV axle that bolts to the hub. Then you need to grab something to loosen the upper ball joint. Again, give it a couple smacks with a hammer, but do not remove that nut before you actually smack it. You need to release tension on it, and then you can actually pull the nut off of it. After it's separated, you can actually pull it out and wiggle everything and gain access to your sway bar link. Now, these things don't always pop out like they're supposed to, so a couple of good smacks with a hammer so you can wiggle it, you're good to go. Then I'm going to loosen the upper strut. I'm going to take all the bolts out of it. It's not going to fall out because there's just, there's no room for it to fall out. We got studs in the bottom, we got studs in the top. It's difficult. As soon as you have those out of the way, loosen the nuts off the bottom of the strut and get ready to pull it. Now, this is going to make your life easier. You don't necessarily have to have a 5-foot tall pry bar to get this out of here, but at the same time, it's going to make it so much easier. As soon as you get in there, just give it a little bit of a pry, break it free, and pull the whole strut assembly out of there. And of course, after all this, somebody thinks I'm taking a trip down memory lane.
You miss wrenching it? No, I sure don't.
And do you want to know why I don't miss it? Because I don't need to turn wrenches anymore. Fabrication all the way for the win, right? Here's the deal. I can't tell them that while I'm actually in their shop. So whatever you do, don't mention it because it's like, super secret stuff. So,
I'm right here.
Hey, Mike. moving along.
Moving along. That's right.
So yeah, the strut spacer only goes in on one direction when it sits up in the pocket there. Only one direction. Now it's really important that you mark out which side is the outside. It only attaches to the strut in one direction as well, which actually clocks it to a different direction. Now this is just this kit, maybe it'll be different with another one, but it's going to clock it to a different direction. Now you could mark the lower portion of the strut as well, but I referenced the fact that the bolts actually curve down in a different direction. But here's what we're looking at. This was actually the front, and our mark for the front is about 180 out, so we got to spin this thing around. The top hat, as it's positioned right now, means that it's 180 degrees out and we need to flip it around. Now you could run down to your local auto parts store and rent a spring compressor tool, or maybe even take it into a shop and say, hey buddy, you know, need a favor from you, just, you know, kind of explain the situation, kick them $5 or $10. Maybe they'll even do it for free. Check out mom and pop shops, or, you know, kind of go for a little desperation act or whatever. But as soon as you have the spring compressed, you can easily rotate the top hat. Make sure that the rubber isolator doesn't actually come out and separate from the spring, because that will actually change the height of the vehicle. So all you want at the end of the day is both lines to be lined up right where they need to be. Now, quite literally, installation is just the exact opposite of disassembly, but this time we have, well, a little bit of a snag, because the strut is like 1.5 inches taller than what it was before. So grab a hold of a pry bar and pry the lower control arm down while you position the strut. While you do this, you can actually get it right where it needs to go, line the holes up, and then give it just that little extra kicker just to get it in there. It also helps if you grab a hold of the pry bar and you can weasel in the sway bar link to get back in there if you pry the sway bar up. Now, expecting to compress the spring in like a traditional sense like you would with a jack underneath it is a little bit too ambitious, because you have a lot more to do it, and you know what, lifting up the corner of the truck, balancing all the weight, not going to happen. Instead, grab a pry bar, get it up above the upper control arm, and you can actually tuck it into the pocket next to the spring and then pull the upper control arm down enough to get it inserted through the knuckle and down to the point where you can give the ball joint nut a few extra turns just to seat it on there before you tighten it up. Now this is probably going to be a big argument about wheel spacers. Now let me just break it to you straight. If you have hub-centric wheel spacers, meaning that the wheel sits on the wheel spacer the exact same way as it fits on the actual brake rotor and the hub itself from the factory, regardless of space, you have a good wheel spacer. So these are 1.5 inch hub-centric wheel spacers, and they are absolutely no different than changing the offset of your wheels. It's the exact same as factory fitment, even if they are extended. I know this argument's going to go forever and ever, but you know what? Seriously look at it. If you extend it or you protrude anything away from the actual mounting surface where the actual wheel sits, it's the same as long as it has its support. That is the exact same as changing the offset of a wheel or adding a hub-centric spacer. If you don't have a hub-centric spacer, then you have grounds to stand on for an argument.
This is where you're going to have to get just a little bit crafty here for a minute. The reason why is because I have access to a tire machine. That's part of what actually kind of reduces my budget, as I went and spent better, you know, more on better stuff. But here's the thing. You don't necessarily have to have access to a tire machine to keep it under budget. You really don't. In fact, you could call around to some shops, look for tire package installation and balance deals. You can look for whatever it is that you have, you know, pull some cash price offers. Bring your tires and wheels down to a shop for loose mounting and balance instead of on the vehicle. Sometimes it's cheaper. You got to get crafty. You got to look around. Maybe even call up some friends. Maybe get a friend of a friend. Put a notice on Facebook. Hey, looking to have these tires mounted, best price. Whatever the deal is. Look, there's a bunch of ways you can do this. Just be patient, be clever, be crafty, but be smart about it, because you don't want to take it down to like some guy who's going to put a couple tire bars and scratch your wheels up and stuff like that, being like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, man. Give me 20 bucks. Don't do that. Either way. Long story short, it's been 17 years since I busted tires. One of the first jobs that I ever had when I was in the industry was busting tires. Haven't done it literally in 17 years. So let's see how I actually keep up with this, because it's been a while.
I don't want to sound like too old or anything, but we used to get commissions when I used to do this. We would get paid our hourly rate plus a commission for the actual job. So I was seriously fast. I had like my muscle memory and everything else going on when it came to running this tire machine. And the one I'm using right now is actually kind of similar to the one I was using back when I was, I don't know how old I was, you know, 17 years ago. But either way, I would think it would all come back to me, but most of it did.
did, some of it didn't. I struggled a little bit, but you know what, getting it all off of here, getting everything set up, it was kind of like, I don't know, like riding a bike, as they say. I don't want to date myself, but I can still pitch a tire.
Oh yeah!
Either way, new tire pressure monitor sensors coming in, and then it just kind of hit me for a minute.
I've never done one of these. That's how far back I go. I've never installed tire pressure monitor sensors. Ever. And I'm pretty sure some of you guys that are tire busters or experienced with these are going to be laughing at me right now. And I might even be putting it in the wrong way. I have no idea. Whatever.
There's really nothing quite like seeing like a tire stacked on top of a wheel as tall as you sitting on the tire machine. You know, when I was younger, I could actually grab a hold of one of these things and spin the whole bada beat on it in one fell swoop, but
oh, I used to be able to do this.
but not anymore apparently. But you know what's funny? You can actually see me here in a moment. I mean, back in the day, we didn't have safety cages for inflating tires, and now we do, so I naturally resorted to this strange gangsta lean, which was thinking that it's going to save me from when the bead seats and maybe explodes.
There it goes. Get you, Mike?
A little bit.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm super excited. I got a tire busted. I switched over to a 35. I get it onto the truck, and it's like the first thing that really comes out of my mouth as soon as I get it installed.
Oh yeah, that's business right there.
But just after that, I get put into my place.
Literally, as I was coming around the back there, I walked into my tailgate, busted my forehead. So now the challenge is to get all these tightened up before I get a drip coming down my face. Start looking like evil something or another. Good old shop injuries. And I hate designer lug nuts. Owie!
And of course, Mike being the super cool guy he is, he went the extra mile, reprogrammed my sensors. Which only leaves one thing left to do.
Alright, little test drive. We definitely need an alignment. Some portions of it are rubbing on that. Woo! That was pretty dope. Hope there's no copper around here. This feels pretty good. They're quiet. The truck has enough balls to break 35's. That's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of dig that. I was a little worried about it, but they're quiet. I mean, like I said, they're cheapo Chinese tires, right? They cost me $700, so you know they might only last a week. So moving on, waste no time. The next day I go in for a balance. I need the wheels balanced, I need an alignment. No getting around that one, has to be done, right? Now, my buddies over at Panda, their tire machine, their balancer can't spin a full 35, and you know, and I want to make sure that these are dead on, like super accurate anyway. So I went over to Discount Tire. No, it's not sponsored. They don't even know who I am, I'm sure. But either way, I go over there. The reason why I picked them, they are a tire shop. They don't do anything else but tires. So that means that they have like the greatest budget and the most dedication for like the best machines and the newest, latest, greatest equipment. So I trust that a little bit more than one that's been kind of sitting around for a while. So either way, I go over there, I get the mountain balance. It's like 38 bucks. And then I have them take my old tires away from me and dispose of them. You know, I paid their tire disposal fee, which is like $2 a tire. So either way, in, out the door, not very much money. I'm happy. This is pretty good. Moving right along to the alignment. Now, while I'm over at Discount, I'm playing, you know, let's play master of schedules here because I only have one day to get all this stuff done. Not to mention, I don't want my tires, my cheap tires at that,
getting scrubbed to death on the way of, just driving around. So I got to get it all done in one day. While I'm at discount, make an appointment for 11 o'clock over at Big O Tires. Chose Big O because 1, they had it availability, 2, their alignments are inexpensive, right? They're not going to sell me all this extra BS package of stuff I don't want. It's just like, yeah, you want an alignment? Here it is. So that's why I went over there. 11 o'clock appointment, show up about a quarter till, somewhere in there, drop the truck off. He says, yeah, it's not ready yet. Cool. I'm going to go get some lunch because this is going to take a while anyway. Head over to grab some food, kick back for a little bit, answer some emails, all the rest of that good stuff. I come back just after noon. Right after 12 o'clock, the truck is still sitting there. And I sit there and wonder, what's the purpose of making an appointment? Whatever, I mean, it's a cheap alignment, right? How much can you really complain? But they get it going on it, no problem. Dude gets it all straightened out, everything's good, goes for his test drive, and then he comes back and he's like, all right, well, I got it to drive straight down the road, but the steering wheel's still left like you said it was when you rolled in. And I'm like, so you did what exactly? Huh. I don't think I'm going to go back to Big O after this, but you know what? It was cheap alignment. We're good. Out the door. Here's the price. So here we go, the total mods list for brand new 35 by 12.5 on 20 all-terrain tires. $697.93 delivered to my door. Of course, installation was nothing because I managed to do it myself, but I did spend $58.74 getting them balanced, $8 disposing of the old ones, $28.90 on 4 brand new tire pressure monitor sensors, and $107.55 on a wheel alignment. To make all these fit, we needed 4.5-inch hub-centric wheel spacers for $58.74. To level out the front end and make sure that these 35s fit, tuck, and don't rub, we needed a front leveling kit for $25.52. Our total mod cost? $967.30. We are definitely under budget, with a little bit of room to spare. Which means if you ended up spending a few extra dollars to get those tires mounted where I did them for free, you would be under budget as well. And you know what? I'm cool with the way it looks, actually. I'm rather surprised. I wasn't expecting that I was going to like this. I thought it was going to be still kind of sitting a little low with some giant tires, but the way that the stance on it actually turned out was really clean. It looks like it'll go out there and do some shit, and that's really what I want. Now, I'm not opposed to going up a little bit further in the future, maybe a 4-inch lift on it with the same 35s, better wheels. I'd love to get some better wheels when I can actually make up my mind, but maybe 37s with a 6-inch lift or something like that, something clean, right? I want to get out there, have a nice clean look on the streets without getting all bro stretched out, stanced with Bluetooth drive shafts. I want something clean, but I still want to take it off-road. I still want to go out and have some fun with it, But in the future, maybe I'll actually look into doing something like that if I can actually make up my mind. But where I got it right now, I got additional clearance, I got capabilities, it looks clean. You know what, I'm actually kind of satisfied with it, really surprised. But thinking or looking like it's going to do something versus comparing it to actually do something, that's what we all want to know. Does this $900 and some odd mod list actually produce a capability to get out there and get dirty? Let's see if it can actually go out there. I'm going to tear this thing up. Let's see how good these $700 tires are and find out, how it went. So I teamed up with my dad. He's a big Jeeper. He likes to go out and have some fun. So I decided, all right, let's get the whole family together, load them all up in the truck, in the Jeep. Let's go out and hit Wheeler Pass just outside of Pahrump, Nevada. Let's go see how these things actually works. Now, I know social media has brought us to believe that rock bouncers are the ultimate end-all be-all, and of course, one of these days, I'm going to build one of those. I want to go out, tear up the trails, rip it up and flip over and all the rest of that stuff. But in the meantime, check out my hood. It's going to tell you the tale. Now, my camera has a really awesome stabilizer and a good gimbal on it, so it's not going to look like we're bouncing around as much as we are, but if you have that reference of my hood on there, guess what? You'll actually get to see what we went through. We netted a whopping 1.5 inches in the rear lift and 3.5 inches in the front lift. That's what we had over stock. And while it doesn't seem that much, it's more than enough for some ground clearance. It's more than enough to go bouncing around some trails. It's more than enough for a realistic approach to off-roading. Not the rock bouncer, not the, smashing on the throttle and going and flipping over and stuff. It's just straight up, we're hitting some trails. But my thing is hills. I must absolutely find a hill. That's just kind of like my jam. So after exploring the trail for a little bit, I looked off to the right, I saw some hills, checked it out, I said, you know what, the line right up the middle, that's my hill. That's exactly what I want to go do. So my dad went about halfway up the right, pulled out camera number 2, got the shot on it, and while I had one taped to the dashboard, you can see we were pretty much pointed at the sky. And while on video it doesn't necessarily translate, but we're running about 22 degrees uphill. And I was a little bit disappointed that I didn't get up to the top, but at the same time, when I actually took a separate line all the way to the extreme right, getting all the way around this, and something I could make it up, I found out there was about a 2-foot waterfall at the top, something that I couldn't actually make it through anyway, so kind of a good thing I didn't make it all the way to the top. Now the rest of this trail was actually pretty modest. I mean, we had our ups and downs, we had a little bounce around, we had some washboards, we had some sharp rocks, we had some loose gravel, we had just about everything we needed to really test this out. So the truck would be bouncing around on some points, and at other points it would be just sitting there, just, going through its phases. And either way you slice it, it did extremely well. There were no crazy noises, there was no bottoming out, there was nothing. I mean, it just kept on going. Like, we finally got the ground clearance that we need, we got everything that we actually needed to run this trail, and everybody was pretty much satisfied. And of course, that magical question just happened to come up about midway through the trail.
Kind of curious how your old tires would handle this.
Oh yeah. Well, we're gonna find out how well these ones actually handle it though.
Yeah.
I kid you not, I was bound and determined to actually destroy these tires. If I destroy these now and have to go out and buy another set tomorrow, I'm still less than the price of a full set of good tires, and now I know the limitations. So it was pretty much a fail-safe plan. If I go out there and just shred these things up and destroy them, you guys would know. But I'll be very honest with you, I'm just kind of blown away. I'm actually really impressed by how well everything held together for the price and how it performed.
Now, I've got more plans for this thing later on, and you're going to see that. This was just the bolt-on nonsense that was kind of fun and all the rest of that good stuff. And you know what? I really like it. I hope it helps you guys out. But that is going to wrap it up for this episode, and I want to thank you guys for watching as always. Now, if you got any questions or comments, go ahead and drop them down in the comments box below. I'll definitely get back to you. If you need to get in touch with us, hit me up on the fabricationseries.com website, Instagram at the.fabricator, and facebook.com/thefabricatorseries. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next episode.